Facebook is trying to cancel me. Here's what's happening. Last week, I launched a new independent conservative video series on Facebook and YouTube. I'm here, just like I promised you I would be, to bring you the news that matters when it matters. You care about the truth, and so do I. But Facebook does not. The very same day that we began to create all these new videos for you, the very same day we began to monetize them so that I can continue to make them, the very same day I was poised to become one of the biggest independent conservative voices on Facebook, less than 2 months before a presidential election, by the way, Facebook responded by enforcing on the same day the phony fact checks on my videos, using those phony fact checks as strikes against my page to label me as fake news, prohibiting us from advertising on Facebook to reach more people, and severely restricting how many people can see my posts. And by the way, we have never paid a dime to promote my videos. They go viral because you share them. But now, Facebook doesn't want you to see them. Compare these numbers, and I know it's nitty-gritty, but bear with me because this is important. 2 weeks ago, I most recently published 4 videos. We aren't going to count the one from that week that Facebook censored. The respective view counts of the 4 uncensored videos were 854,000, 1.3 million, 4.8 million, and 2 million. Please note the share counts on these videos. 26.9 thousand shares, 14,000 shares, 122,000 shares, and 58.8 thousand shares. Then, the next week, after Facebook notified us that our reach would be restricted, we published 6 videos. Only 5 had full 24-hour data at the time of this video, so we'll just talk about the 5 with full data. Their respective view counts were 369,000 views, 248,000 views, 202,000 views, 266,000 views, and 248,000 views. Please notice also the share counts on these videos. 25.5 thousand shares, 14.7 thousand shares, 13.7 thousand shares, 18.7 thousand shares, and 19.4 thousand shares. Notice how uncensored 14,000 shares got 1.3 million views. But censored by Facebook, 14,000 shares got just 202,000 views. Facebook intentionally choked us, reducing our reach by 6-fold. Even though you shared my videos the same amount, Facebook isn't letting you see my videos. And what's worse, we appealed this. We reached out to Facebook, and they refused to have a real person address this discrimination. Make no mistake, this is pure viewpoint discrimination because I'm conservative. I do not share fake news. I wouldn't claim viewpoint discrimination either unless I have proof. And I do. Let me show you. This is the notice we received from Facebook. You'll notice there are 2 videos that Facebook claims were fact-checked. So let's look at the allegations. First of all, in late August, Facebook slapped a fact-check label on my video called 5 Things You Need to Know About Kamala Harris. At the time, that video had over 1 million views. The reason for the fact check, I said in the video, and I quote, "Kamala Harris wants to take away your guns. Even though AR-15s are used in less than 2% of firearms-related homicides every year, Kamala wants to make it illegal for you to own them. And she wants government to take them away from you if you already legally own an AR-15. Kamala calls this a mandatory buyback, which we all know is a sneaky liberal word for government confiscation of your firearms. Kamala wants the government to come to your door and force you to surrender your firearms at the point of the government's guns." Those were my words verbatim. When you click the fact check label Facebook put on the video, it's a PolitiFact article, which reads, and I quote, "Claim, Senator Kamala Harris said, if elected and you don't surrender your guns, I will sign an executive order and the police will show up at your door." PolitiFact rates that claim as false. But I never said that. I did not say any such thing. I said, Kamala Harris wants to take away your guns. I said Kamala Harris wants the government to come to your door and force you to surrender your firearms. I inferred this from Kamala Harris's own words.
We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way.
A mandatory buyback program, what does that mean? That means mandatory government confiscation. That means government makes it illegal for you to own AR-15s. And if you refuse to surrender your guns to the government can penalize you. up to and including sending government agents to confiscate your guns. This isn't rocket science. If somebody like Kamala Harris says she supports a mandatory gun buyback program, she's not dumb. She knows what that means. She obviously wants government to take away your guns if you refuse to surrender them voluntarily. Yet, Facebook slapped a strike on my page for explaining the implications of a mandatory gun buyback program, and PolitiFact claimed I said something I did not say. The same thing happened in September. Facebook slapped a fact-check label on my video about COVID-19 PCR testing, claiming that I was peddling partially false news. In the video I said, and I quote, "According to the Times, standard COVID-19 tests are diagnosing huge numbers of people who may be carrying relatively insignificant amounts of the virus and are not likely to be contagious. A PCR test, which is the most common type of COVID-19 test, the kind you're familiar with, identifies the virus's genetic material in a swab sample and then amplifies it over and over again until a machine can detect the DNA of the virus. If the machine detects the virus's DNA, then the test pops positive. Well, if you amplify the genetic material of the swab sample enough times, you will detect the virus DNA, even if the viral load in the person's body is clinically insignificant, meaning even if that person only has traces of the virus in their body, even if they're not symptomatic themselves and very unlikely to be contagious and transmit the virus to other people." So the New York Times examined COVID-19 testing data from New York, Massachusetts, and Nevada, and found that up to 90% of people testing positive carried barely any virus. This is because the PCR tests for COVID-19 in the United States are using anywhere between 35 to 40 amplification cycles to identify the genetic material of the virus. And many experts agree that anything higher than 30 amplification cycles will result in inactive, dead, or clinically insignificant amounts of the virus being detected, therefore causing the test to show as positive. End quote. So when you click the fact check label Facebook put on that video, it's an article which reads, "Fact check. Concern over testing does not mean every stat about COVID-19 is bogus. Many who test positive may be carrying insignificant amounts of the virus, but this doesn't mean that testing is useless, and it certainly doesn't mean that all statistics related to the disease cannot be believed." End quote. But I never said that. I did not say any such thing. I said public health policy related to COVID-19 is based on COVID-19 case numbers, not deaths, not hospitalizations, not ICU capacity, not ventilators, not even the infection fatality rate. I said public policy is based on case numbers, which means positive tests, the majority of which, according to the New York Times, should be negative. That's it. That is why Facebook is penalizing me. That is why Facebook has restricted and artificially reduced my reach and falsely labeled my page as fake news. That is why Facebook is not only censoring individual videos, but is trying to cancel me completely. It's not because I peddle fake news. I do not. Facebook is trying to cancel me because I'm conservative.